Welcome to Technado.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Technado, as I like to say, the techiest of all NATOs. My favorite NATO, in fact, and today is no exception. We got some great articles for you out there. We got some great tech news. We've also got some security news. You know, my personal fan favorite, because that's kind of what I do. Here's the thing. You're probably going, where the hell is Sophia? Why is she not introing this show? Daniel, we don't, that's not your job. Here's the thing. She's at Black Hat. She's at Black Hat. I did not go to Black Hat this year. Well, these things happen. She got to go. I'm not bitter at all. Don't take it that way. But also, Don is not here. That means I get to run the show. I get to do it my way. We're going to have a lot of fun. I've got one Mr. Anthony Sequeira to my right. Anthony, thank you for joining me today.
Yes, love being on Technado. Thanks for having me.
No, what's your favorite part about Technado?
Oh, my gosh, the tech news. Are you kidding me?
News.
Cutting edge.
He likes it. It's fun. And not to be outdone, we also have one Mr. Wes Bryan joining us in the studio. Wes, how goes it, sir?
Thanks for having me here, man. Always a pleasure to be on Technado.
Well, I did threaten your life. So.
Hey, everybody's got to have a hobby.
Yeah, you do.
That just happens to be yours.
I was like, Wes, you better get in that studio. I don't know what you're thinking about, but I'm going to need you. You know those favors you owe me? I'm calling them in.
That's right.
But there we go. That's right. So that is the Technado cast for today. So it ought to be interesting. It ought to be fun. Before we get too far down the rabbit hole, I want to make sure to remind you that the Technado is brought to you by ACI Learning. Our good folks at ACI Learning and IT Pro, we like to get you trained up. So if you need some training for audit, cyber, or IT, ACI Learning has got you squared away. We've got over 7,000 hours. I know, that's a big number. It would seem impossible. It just doesn't seem real. But it is true. 7,000 hours of content in our training library. So you should definitely check that out. And if you get signed up, you can use the promo code Technado30 for 30% off. How about them apples? What are you going to do with that? You're going to get 30% off. That's what you're going to do. So definitely head on over to acilearning.com. Get signed up for a free account, no credit card required. You can see what we're all about, and maybe you see something you like and you can't live without, and you get all signed up for an actual program. There you go. ACI Learning, that's who sponsors the old Technado. All right, enough of that business. Let's get to the tech news, shall we? Our first article is coming by way of a verifying link. No. Slashdot, that's who it's coming from, slashdot.org, and it says ChromeOS is splitting the browser from getting more like Linux. That's the wrong article. I'm clicking wrong things. Why am I doing that? Because I'm crazy. The first article is actually... Raspberry Pi availability is visibly improving after years of shortages. And this comes from Ars Technica. We do love Ars Technica around here. They're going to get a little bit of love today, as a matter of fact. I think we've got a few articles coming by way of Ars Technica. But hey, if they got the hot news, we're going to go to them as a resource. So, boys... have you been languishing in Raspberry Pi jail, just praying to the Raspberry gods that they would descend from heaven like manna?
Yeah, I tell you what, I know why you skipped this article, because you probably said, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it.
Well, I actually rearranged the articles earlier.
Well, we
forgot to do it in
right.
my notes.
So, we've been, what? So Raspberry Pi 4 has been out for 4 years now, and I haven't bothered to even try to buy one.
You used to have a ton of Raspberries.
I used to have a ton of them up until they weren't available anymore, or
now we know why.
Right.
Or Wes was buying them all.
That's right. Shh.
Yeah.
Or the the price gouging that was going on. That to me was the big thing.
Was it price gouging or was it supply and demand?
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But we're seeing the supplies come back up, and some of the prices are staying the same. So
now that's
I
price
go back
gouging.
to my original.
There you go.
Maybe not initially with supply and demand, but I'm not paying $165 for something that we 4 years ago we could pay $35 for.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I went up to, for the first time, Pi Hut, thanks to this
Pi
article.
Hut. I like
Pi Hut.
Yeah.
What a great
It
name.
sounds like a pizza joint.
It does.
Let's go have a pizza.
Yeah. So I went up there, and a complete kit of this Raspberry Pi 4 was like $350. Does that sound right?
No,
No,
So
no, it
that's
does
sky
not.
high. By the way, I must admit, if it wasn't clear already, I have never purchased or played
You've
with
never
a
done
Raspberry
a
Pi.
Raspberry Pi before?
Never went down that little rabbit
Come on,
hole.
son. We got to fix that.
Yeah,
I
most
know.
definitely. I had a Raspberry Pi 3. I didn't buy the 4, and for obvious reasons.
I have a 4.
Do you have a 4?
I have
Yeah,
a
I had a
4.
3.
And a 0. W.
Yeah, right. And I got a
2.
couple of the older versions.
02W. That's what.
Oh, there you go. And I remember, in fact, I remember buying that breakout. You remember, Dan, I bought that breakout thing for it, right? So that whole package, enclosure and a breakout kit, which had about 80 pieces. Now, understand a single capacitor is small piece.
A little bit.
Was, I want to say, under $60
Yeah.
for everything.
It used to be awesome.
Right. So $300. Holy cow.
Yeah.
No,
so that's
not for
a
me.
lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, for a single Pi board. And then, so I actually contemplated a lot. Should I sell my Raspberry 4? Because sometimes I was using it for a Pi hole for a while. I'm thinking about actually like sending it back that way, but it's a project thing, right? It's for doing random fun little projects that you find on the internet. You can do all sorts of crazy things with Raspberry Pis, like build smart screens, do retro gaming consoles, do home automation. It's just like, it's infinite in its capabilities, which is why they were so popular. And then, of course, we started running into chip shortages due to some turbulent political things happening around the Southeast Asian area. And therefore, chips were not as readily available. And, of course, car manufacturers were suffering the hurt from that. And Raspberry Pis were another one that took a big hit. And it started to drive the price up because they couldn't fill demand. They could not fulfill all the orders for Raspberry Pis. There was so much demand for it. So what they were doing was they were focusing on making enough Raspberry Pis for
commercial vendors.
Commercial products.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Oh, I use a Raspberry Pi in this commercial product, therefore I kind of get preferential treatment from the organization that creates Raspberry Pis. Well, that leaves us, the little guy out there, going, well, I want to do some home automation products or projects. I want to do all these cool things. We were kind of left, swinging in the wind, going, hey, what about me? And they're like, well, there's eBay. You go to get on that eBay, get on Facebook Marketplace and get you one. I'm like, yeah, but they're like $200 now. And that doesn't seem like I could go buy like a NUC for that. What's the purpose of a Raspberry Pi at that point? Other than the GPIO, all the input-output stuff.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of brings us back to one of the things that the article mentioned, too. If you're going to charge me $300 for this little Raspberry Pi, why wouldn't I just go get a repurposed or discarded thin client?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Why not? The thin client's got everything I need.
Yeah,
right?
I love Linux, but I just never thought about this form factor, never wanted to play with it. But then again, at the price point of $30, that it looks real attractive.
Yeah, and it was. So I think when I bought a Vilros complete set. Mm-hmm. I want to say that ran maybe $70. That was with a case. That was with fans. That was with, power cables. It came with just about everything. Mm-hmm. And other than a screen and a keyboard and a mouse, that was the only options I did not get. And building a Pi hole was great because you start to see how much all your home devices are phoning home with a bunch of information about you.
So explain Pi hole. I have not heard that one.
So a Pi hole is basically a DNS sinkhole.
Ah, okay.
Right? So it takes over DNS for your home network.
Yep.
You just tell your, DHCP, hey, give this as the IP address for DNS to all my devices, and they gladly accept that action. And then Pi hole goes, so I got this list of stuff I don't want you to go to, and I'm just going to kind of sinkhole that off into nowhere land. Mm. You're going to think you got there, but you're not really getting there, right? And then everything else is just going to kind of goes where it needs to go. So all your smart TVs and your Alexas and your Google Dots and all these other things that are in your house, they are sending massive amounts of data. So I kind of went down this privacy, not piracy. I went down a privacy rabbit hole to make sure I enunciate that correctly. And I was like, oh, wow. And I was, looking at all the logs and the traffic that was going through my network. And I was like, oh, this is kind of sick. I don't like this. And I found out real quick that your phone doesn't like being told not to use other DNSs than what it's told by your provider to use.
Yep.
So it can be kind of a pain in the butt to get it to switch over to a different DNS provider. And yeah, so really interesting. But it took 15 minutes to get it set up, install the operating system, install Pi-hole, sit it on your network, fix DHCP so that it sends that out, and you're done. Boom. And then you just have to go in there every so often. Some people do it really religiously, and they check like daily or twice a day for updates to those lists that you can go and find.
Brings me back to the days of the updated host files that you needed to download every once in a while. Right. Sure. But yeah, it's maintaining that list.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'd like to touch on that the article mentioned too, and the reason I'm not getting so excited about this article as far as what it says, I mean, it's great, but this conveyor belt stopped, right? As far as these, so think about it. And it talks about how the production of the CEO here mentioned what Eben Upton, he said, we're making these hundreds of thousands of, we're still making hundreds of thousands a month, of these pies, but Raspberry Pis. But like you said, they were going to these commercial developers. Well, let's say, and they're saying, they're going to go from 400,000 to 600,000 to 800,000. Now
so
we
like
got this
million, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, million's a nice number. How many of those millions are on back orders?
So
before I can get one now.
And they said that was to fulfill those backward.
Sure.
And they said that they'll continue creating them at a million pace until it gets back to standard, where you can just buy Raspberry Pis at the normal prices. I really like the Raspberry Pi Zero.
And they do say though, as long as that pace is sustainable.
Well, yeah. Obviously.
So you know what I'm saying. So
that's a given.
That's a lot of talk.
Yeah.
Right. And before I'm happy about what I might be able to get, I need to see them get past those back orders, or we're just right back to the same thing.
Wes finds them to be dubious.
I do.
I like the word dubious, by the way. It's just a fun word to say. Dubious, my dear Watson.
All right.
Well, there you go. If you've been languishing over not having Raspberry Pis, maybe very, very soon, maybe not. You never know. They are apparently working on some plan to get you a Raspberry Pi. All right, now let's go to the article I tried to show you before. Our next article, which does come from Slashdot, which is ChromeOS is splitting the browser from the OS, getting more like Linux. You're speaking my language, Chrome. How'd you know? You just know me. No, you hang up. No, you, right? So any of you boys got Chromebooks running around the house?
Yeah, I got two, and I got ChromeOS Flex for an old discarded PC to repurpose it too.
Nice.
Remind me on ChromeOS Flex, because I read about that in the article and then didn't research it. What is that?
All it is, so it's another version of the ChromeOS, the operating system that doesn't come pre-installed on Chromebooks. But if I have a PC, like for instance, I've got a few of these old Dell Optiplexes, right? And they're not going to install Windows 10 or Windows 11 at all. They don't even support it, right? It's not even supported by Windows 11, but I still want to get some functionality of it, right? So I can go up and I can download, if I have an enterprise agreement, which I kind of do, I can download ChromeOS Flex, and then I can install it on some of those devices, and I can repurpose them.
Yeah, I got a bunch of old laptops laying around, and that can be like a zero-cost alternative to putting maybe like a Linux Lite on there or something, and just give it to the kids and say, here you go, bang away. Who cares if you break it or whatever?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I got to admit to an open mouth insert foot moment, which I do a lot. When it first came out, I was like, who the heck's going to want this web browser stuff? And but that's so basic. And I bought me one. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. If I only need to check email and I only need to check, like, say, the Google Doc, whatever the Google suite is that you're using, it's awesome.
Listen, my mom, she called me not too long ago, was like, I need a new laptop. I need your help buying one. I'm like, do you do any kind of like intensive spreadsheeting or building PowerPoints with a lot of animations and things like that? She's like, no. I'm like, what don't you do that's basically online? She's like, I'm like, probably nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, just go buy a Chromebook.
Sure.
Just go buy the Chromebook that you like the best and save yourself a bunch of money.
Absolutely. And let me give you another, because I'm working on some endpoint administration concepts too. And what I like about it is I have a web browser. Most of the stuff that we do in the cloud, I only need a web browser. So, it makes it even more functional from that aspect.
Yep.
So.
And you have any Chrome OS?
I do, yeah. But actually, it's really funny. So my old Chromebook that I got for $150, still cannot believe I paid $150 for this beautiful HP piece of equipment. I actually scrubbed Chrome OS off it and put on, I'm going to forget the name now because the studio lights are on, but it is a version of Linux designed for Chromebooks.
Well, I mean,
nice.
Chrome is a version of Linux, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Chrome OS is.
Yep, you're
well, I mean, that brings us to the article, right? Because we've kind of danced around this. This subject is that they're splitting the operating system, Chrome OS, from the browser. So apparently the deal is right now, and this isn't, let's start here. This is not like the gospel from Google that this is happening. It just seems like we're seeing a lot of signs on the horizon that this is what is occurring, according to this article. There are flags that you can set and make this happen if you want to kind of manually go in under the hood, make this occur and get that split kind of ahead of time. But it seems like the writing is on the wall that this is what's going to occur down the road. And what that means is that the binary package that you get that is Chrome OS has within it bundled the browser itself, the Chrome browser as well. So what they're going to do is they're going to break these two things into two separate binaries, and there's a lot of pros to doing that. A, if I need to update the operating system, I don't have to touch my browser. And if I want to update my browser, I don't have to touch my operating system. So I can have different update cycles for those two products. And a lot of people seem to find that to be because, okay, so I need to update my ChromeOS. That means I have to reboot the entire machine, and it's also updating my browser. And maybe that breaks something, especially if you're a developer. That might be, now you got to start developing for the new version of whatever. That can definitely cause some issues, I guess. But ultimately, that's what I was reading about why we would want to do this, is to get those separate things. And then if that does occur, you no longer use the bespoke or the purposely built browser, Chrome browser for Chrome OS. They will now start using the Linux-based Chrome OS. It's still Chrome, or not, Chrome OS, Chrome browser. It's still Chrome. You still get all the bells and whistles. It's just now the Linux version of Chrome on your now more Linuxy like Chrome OS. It just seems like they're going to be Linux at this point.
Mm-hmm. What browser are you required to use in a Linux operating system?
Whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, definitely. So I definitely see why they would split it up. And, if you have to manage and administer to these devices, they update really quick, but they update in a single package, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this is great news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. One of the things I was thinking about was which would be advanced users, right?
Yeah.
The last thing we need is another browser, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want this weird Chrome browser.
What do you use, by the way?
For a browser?
For just what's your day driver?
Browsing?
Yeah.
It is Chrome.
You?
Edge.
Edge?
Yep, I went to Edge,
which is a Chromium-based browser.
Once they went to Chromium-based browser, I switched over, and it's essentially to me, it's like running Chrome, but it's not completely now.
Yeah,
but from my interface, I switched over up to like 4 months ago, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's just because of the space that I work in. Let's change it up a little bit. I also do content like working in the Google Workspace admin console. Well, if I'm in there, chances are I'm probably going to want to use their browser to manage their stuff.
Yeah, you would think that it would work a little bit better,
right? But I'm just happen to be in the Microsoft space a lot, so that's why I'm using that.
Yeah, and I'm a Firefox guy because
you're in the Linux space a lot.
Linux
sure,
stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. You guys, I thought you were going to bring up the LaCroix.
Oh no, absolutely!
Sparkly drink.
I looked at this and I was telling Dan, I was like, I couldn't just stop from thinking lactose intolerant.
Lactose intolerant, yeah.
But
so this is Linux and Chrome OS. This is what we're talking about.
Yes, definitely.
Like, what?
Yes, yeah. What is this? It's the code name is and what is it called? Lactose, I think.
Lactose, I think.
Linux and Chrome OS is what it's short for.
Yeah,
yeah.
And this will be the new name for Chrome OS.
Yeah, and if you those flags you were talking about, if you turn that flag on, then what's going to happen is the new's going to come in and the old's going to be sundown. Right. So that new browser for Linux is what you're going to use, and the Chrome OS browser that was kind of built in, or the Chrome browser for Chrome OS, let's get that right, is going to be kind of just move silently out of the operating system.
They need to give it a new name, because me saying Chrome OS and Chrome browser in the same word, like technically Chrome browser is just called Chrome.
Right.
And then you have Chrome OS. So you're just like Chrome OS. Chrome, no, not OS, Chrome. No, Chrome, is it Chrome?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this? It's kind of a pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I need something different. It's a little too similar for me.
I will tell you, though, from an administrative standpoint, when you do things like remote wipes on those, I think they call them power washes. I mean, it's the same principle of a remote wipe. It's same kind of actions and procedures that are going on. It happens quick. Yeah. Like I think Anthony, I showed you one day where I did maybe I didn't, but I did a remote power wash, and because of the fact that the operating system is already stripped down enough, it was done in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and you're ready to log in. So now why do I mention this? Well, the point is, now that you're separated these binaries, you reduce the complexity of a power wash and the administration. I mean, it's already simplified enough. But again, if you're doing this times 1,000 devices, if you have education-based work Chrome OS books that you're deploying in an academic solution, you can see that now that you're stripping off some of that stuff that was required in the original binary is not there anymore, then maybe even your administration deployment gets easier.
I did just read that the users probably won't notice anything, but this is a different article, but it's about the same thing. It says but the feature should make it easier to update Chrome OS and might extend the life of old Chrome OS devices. So that would be cool, because ChromeOS is, I think they've, well, you know what? I think this is a perfect segue into our next article, which is from Ars Technica. And it says, absurd Google, Amazon rebuked over unsupported Chromebooks still for sale. So, I mean, that seems interesting. So you're telling me I've got unsupported Chromebooks that are still for sale. And when we say, I'm not talking about Craigslist here. I'm not talking about Facebook Marketplace still for sale. I'm talking about Amazon, Walmart, like heavy hitters in the marketing space of the internet. They are selling laptops, Chromebooks that are either at end of life, past end of life, or getting ready to be at end of life, right? You know what I mean? It's like, and they're not saying anything. They're not being like, by the way, this is sundowning and like, you got like 47 minutes before the ticking clock makes this completely unusable.
And what you're saying here, because I buy last generation stuff. I bought a MacBook that way or not a MacBook, excuse me, a Mac Mini because I wanted to learn the operating system. I told you about that Dell Optiplex. What's the difference? I go up there and it says, "Hey, refurbished."
Yeah.
Right. Well, these aren't refurbished.
So now
these are brand new stock.
Buy your brand new out-of-date Chromebook or not supported Chromebook.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It says Google was listed pleased to extend the lifetime of Chromebooks set to expire at the end of this June and throughout the summer. 13 Chromebook models have met their death since June 1st and won't receive security updates or new features from Google anymore.
And one of those that was end of life, right?
Was yours.
No,
I was going to say was the one I bought.
But it was September 2019. So that is not that long ago.
No, it's not that long.
Definitely,
All right.
surprised when you buy that thing and learn no more.
Help me out with another scenario. I threw another scenario.
Yeah.
If I say it's refurbished, well, I know it's yesterday's,
Right.
but you're not telling me that. You're telling me buy this brand new thing. So if I'm a parent right now, I know you've got kids. I've got kids where they're all getting ready to go back to school at the time that we're recording this. So if I'm a parent and I'm looking for that brand new Chromebook and I'm going to save me some money, right? Because I'm going to get that Chromebook, and I get it, right?
Well, plus, your kid is going to like throw it down a sewer.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to take a cartwheel at 30 miles an hour down the street, right? But the point being is now I've got this brand new Chromebook. We are going to start school this week, and there's no support.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
a big deal.
And you've just wasted, as a parent, you just wasted a bunch of money.
It through. Yeah.
And
We do enough of that as parents,
I think this article did bring this up, is that like, think about the schools that purchase tons
20,000 units.
of Chromebooks for the students as in-desk laptops for them.
I didn't even think about that. One parent might be out a couple $100, but you might have an academic institution that just bought 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 of those things, and they're not
ready
supported.
for this one. Ready? Where'd they get that money to buy them Chromebooks? Your tax money.
Oh,
right? So now, okay, cool. I'm paying taxes to support schools, to make my schools better, to give my kids tools to help increase their educational experience. Now we can't. What do you mean you can't use them? What are you trying to tell me here? We just bought a bunch of stuff and we can't use it because no one told you they were EOL? Come on, man. Right? Tell me that doesn't.
Yeah.
Get to. I'm on steps.
We talked about this on an earlier Technado that I was on, and Daniel, you and I were talking about the price of Chromebooks, and it kind of made me think of this. So, okay, they have a really short lifespan. Well, that probably made sense when they were real low-cost devices, right? So it's only going to last 4 to 6 years. Well, I spent under $200 on it. Who cares?
Yeah.
But some of these Chromebooks now are $1,800. So I'm sure that buyer
that gets a little
didn't
sick.
expect that thing to last only 4 years.
Man, I don't want to be mean, but
I am never going to spend $1,400 on
man.
something that.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
No. Is that web browser faster?
Touchscreen.
That must be a very fast web browser.
man.
It's such a strange thing. There's $1,800 Chromebooks.
That's like buying a Ferrari that all you do is go to the grocery store and back with it.
Yeah.
Like, and your grocery store is like 2
Sunday
miles away,
driving.
Yeah.
right?
Very strange.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Nope.
Sunday driving.
Doesn't make any sense.
Even if you're doing remote access, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Average screen's going to be good enough for that.
Right. And I want to bring up the fact that we might be sitting here thinking, well, come on, Google, like extend life, like give us longer. And they have done it in the past. They have been kind of chided for making the end of life for their stuff a little too short, and they did increase the life on some certain stuff after getting a little too much backlash. But I think we also need to not forget about those marketplaces out there that are not telling us or doing any kind of diligence. We need to have Google tell them, hey, if you're selling our product, you need to be letting your customers know that this system might be end of life or close to it or near it or after it, because this article says they were able to find on Amazon and other places Chromebooks that were past end of life for sale.
Now, is that Google
as
or
brand
Amazon's fault?
That's the point.
And I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It seems to be a bit of both.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Google's responsibility would be to say, if you're selling our product, you need to be telling your customers that this is an end of life product at this point. And that's on you. Our diligence is to tell you to tell them.
Yeah,
sure.
Is
absolutely.
to be letting you know and making it very available. That seems to be part of the problem, is that it's a little bit of a. It's not like you go to Google's Google OS homepage or whatever, or Chromebook homepage at Google and go, oh, here's a bunch of end of life stuff.
It's not glaringly obvious
It's not
at
standing
all.
you in the face. You're
Sure.
not getting emails from Google going, if you have these things, Google customer, you seem to have purchased one in the past. You are now at end of life. Or if you purchase something, that would be kind of maybe they could go down that road. Maybe if through like serial numbers and that kind of stuff, where you register your Chromebook once you buy it, and it will go, hey, buddy, that's end of life.
Sure.
And you can just do a return.
And I think they got to do a little bit better not putting whisper print. And this doesn't even look like they're putting any whisper print, right? The fine print is what I mean by that. That stuff we whisper.
Yeah.
We new, out of date.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The whisper print needs to be a little bit more in your face.
Right. And there needs to be some mechanism on Amazon, on Walmart, on Newegg, wherever you're at and you're getting these things that tells you, so this is when this was made, and according to Google,
I was just looking for that, Daniel. So
it does not exist.
I am at an Amazon sale page for a Chromebook, and I just wanted to, just out of curiosity, did they have the release date of this product? They do not. It's not even in the fine print.
Yep.
So what would a parent do?
I would think that Amazon will go, well, buyer beware, right? Caveat emptor.
Yeah.
This is the onus is on you as the buyer to make sure that you are buying something. That's not our problem. Yeah, okay. Maybe there's an argument to be had there, but it just seems shady as hell.
It does.
Sure.
When you are not doing anything to help me make a purchase that I'm going to be happy with. And so, yeah, you might get me once, and then I go, Amazon don't care, right? They don't care. What are you going to do? You're going to go somewhere else? Pshaw, I say.
Right. Well, if they're the only suppliers, then for sure. Can you imagine? Because I know you worked for a pretty big company at one time. If you had 200 laptops deployed to your company and you guys are ready to deploy those in the field, and they say, yeah, or let's say it was Dell.
Yeah.
Dell says, sorry, these, it doesn't even say anything. They show up and you say, all right, let's go ahead and update them. And you can't update any of them. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. Like what that would cause?
Man, yeah, it would be flipping crazy.
Yeah.
There would be pandemonium, and VPs would be wanting our heads on a pike.
Absolutely. It's time to look
We're
for
like, we didn't do that.
resume printing coming up.
Now, that does beg the question, kind of reaching back to our previous article, is will Chrome Flex or the new Lacrosse or Lacrosse or whatever the hell it is,
Lactose
intolerances.
I got you on
Yeah. Right? And LaCroix, my sparkling OS that I drink
That's
with
right.
my lunch. Is that going to give me extended life on these older laptops? So maybe if I did make these purchases, maybe if I am a school with 500 laptops sitting going, what are you going to do? It's not supported. Maybe now I can breathe new life into those. Mm-hmm. Maybe that would be an option for us. I don't know. Food for thought. All right, boys. Anything left you want to throw on this pile of burning?
Read the fine print.
Read the fine print?
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Or the lack thereof, apparently, according to this article.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do a lot of research.
Buyer beware. Buyer beware.
Buyer beware. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our tech news for today. A lot of Chrome stuff going on, but hey, you know what? Every now and then we got to get them in the news cycle, and they're doing stuff. Seems like some interesting things happening there. But stay tuned. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we got that security news that we're going to get at, see what kind of horrible things have happened in the world.
Tired of trying to schedule your team's time around in-person learning? Isn't it a bummer to spend thousands of dollars on travel for professional development? What if we said you can save money and time and still provide your team with the best training possible? The answer to your woes is live online training from ACI Learning. With live online training, we provide our top in-person courses in private, online, instructor-led formats. You get to provide professional development in a manner that fits today's expectations. Entertaining, convenient, and effective. Our exam-aligned courses inspire the full potential of your team. Visit virtual instructor-led training at ACI Learning for more info.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Technado. Into some security news. We had enough of that tech news stuff. I mean, maybe you didn't. Maybe you could thirst for more. But for us, we're moving on to security news. Now, I know there's quite a few of you out there that love that security news. I'm first and foremost chief of this right here. And today we got quite a few interesting articles going back into one of the previous things that we have talked about from time to time. It just continues to breathe new life into it here, is the old MoveIt bug. Our next article comes from SC Media. It says, MoveIt bug tied to breach of up to 11 million records via government contractor. Isn't that feel good? I just kind of want to throw this out here. It says that in a July 26 filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, better known as the SEC, the company, which is Maximus, said it anticipates to inform at least 8 million to 11 million individuals that their personal information may have been compromised. Maximus provides health and human services programs to state and local governments. I actually went and checked out the Maximus website, and they said, we are focused on the future of government. They have technology consulting services, customer services, future of health, so they dip into defense, homeland security, civilian and health. So they've got their tentacles in quite a few of the things that are kind of important to the infrastructure of, well, government and society. So it's a kind of a big deal that 8 to 11 million records were compromised through this MoveIt fiasco.
Did I read that right? I thought that was a recording studio.
What's that?
11M record.
Yeah.
11 million.
11 million.
Not good.
Do your best.
Yeah.
Dr.
Oh,
Evil,
we got some
right?
Dr. Evil coming in
Yeah,
here
it's a
on a
little
0
crazy.
day, too, as well.
Yeah, supply chain attacks, man. They really kick in the butt, aren't
Yeah,
they?
man.
Gotta love these things. Well, what do you guys think about this? What's your thoughts and opinions?
Not good. I went in and was researching the MoveIt software a little bit because I haven't done Technado's where you guys have talked about that. So I was looking at their software, researching them, and it's just always so sad. One of their foremost things is security, right? I mean, that's a key platform for them.
Yes.
This is a way to securely move your files for your customers, and sure enough, it leads to a brutal breach.
Man, you got to love when these kind of things happen. And, this just goes to show you how difficult security is, because it's really easy to just go, you just were, we caught you napping. You were sleeping on the job. You were taking the easy way out on something. Maybe they were, probably not, though. I don't know, if anybody of you out there have never tried to code a program, I would suggest you go give that a whirl for something even simple. And then enjoy all the difficulty that is involved in that happening. Justin, our good friend and ex-co-host here, he told me one time, being a developer is kind of like being a boxer, and you win. You're the winning boxer, but here's how the match is going to go. You're going to get punched in the face 99 times, and then you get to throw one punch, but it's the winning punch. But you take a pretty vicious beating getting to now my program works and everything is doing what I need it to do. It's a definitely an exercise in frustration a lot of ways. And I found that to be absolutely true. Coding things is difficult, and definitely when you're trying to do it securely, it's really easy to step over and miss something. That's why we do security application or like static application security testing, dynamic application security testing, SAST and DAST, all that code review to see, have we missed something? We've got things that are now built into our dev environments, like Copilot, that tells you, hey, it's AI platform basically that's built in, that's watching you code and going, oh, I see what you're doing there, and that is an insecure thing to do. There's a reason those things are coming up, because it's really easy for us to make a mistake. So I don't want to kick the old MoveIt platform in the face while it's down too hard. That said, there are other options that I'm surprised that MoveIt was like as big as it was.
Yeah.
Because you have things like SFTP, you have SCP out there, tried and true standards that we know work really well. They're not really difficult to work with. What say you guys? You guys worked with MoveIt at all or used secured file transfers?
Oh, I've used secure file transfers, but not in something this large.
Yeah,
for sure. I'll give them credit to one thing. So it looks like the critical zero day was May 31st, June 5th. So this would have been 6 days later. There's a blog post by Progress Software and the steps to mitigate within 48 hours of the disclosure.
Yeah, that's
so
called,
that I like the due diligence that
GDPR kicking in probably.
Absolutely. Right. So I thought that was really cool.
Right.
Another interesting thing about this article, and it mentioned John Hammond, who I think you
I do, friend of
personally
mine.
know.
Friend of mine,
Yeah, he was quoted in the article. But how about how there's this new technique to make money where the computer criminals get the 11 million people's PII and then it's pay us
or else.
Yeah. So
it's like,
or somebody else will.
Yeah. Well, because they're like, hey, that's some nice data you got there.
That's right.
Be a shame if it were to make its way on that dark web there.
That harvesting that can go on that amount of information is astronomical.
Now, the article does say that the company, which is, Maximus, they are planning to spend $15 million for the quarter, ended June on the total investigation and remediation activities related to this incident. So they did not walk away from this unscathed, not just the PR fiasco that it ends up being with 8 to 11 million records being possibly stolen, but quite a financial hit, even though they're not experiencing any sanctions from any government bodies, at least as of yet, not that I've read anyway, over this. Just to clean up the mess alone is going to cost them $15 million. Now, I'm sure that they've got plenty of money, but I'm sure they didn't want to spend $15 million on a cleanup job. That's for sure.
And then
like
the reputation loss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now you have to rebuild your reputation.
That's right.
That is a big financial loss, too, that might last you years.
Well, MoveIt. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
So we're going to move it.
Yeah, we'll move it right along to our next article, which is about Canon printers from Ars Technica. Our favorite of all the Technicas. Canon warns printer users to manually wipe Wi-Fi settings before you discard it because it's a whole lot more difficult to reset those settings after you've discarded it. And for the very fact that there might be some problems, some security issues that you need to be aware of if you have discarded it and did not do some manual wiping. You boys read this article. What do you think about what's going on here? What would you say the problem is here, gentlemen?
Well, my favorite part of this article is what Canon tells you to do.
Yeah.
Right? To properly dispose, you have to, you factory reset, then you go in and you manually delete the Wi-Fi settings. Then you have to like re-enable it. Then, so it's multi-steps. There's no one that would do it. There's no consumer that would go through the classic IT troubleshooting.
And why is it that they are telling you to do those steps there, Anthony? Why wouldn't you just do a reset?
Yeah, exactly. But by the way, I have never disposed of a printer outside of the Office Space method.
Oh, you hit it with a ball bat.
Yeah, I mean, when my printer is finally time to be
at that point, you're probably ready to beat it to death. Yeah,
exactly. But anyways, this is embarrassing for Canon. I mean, clearly a factory reset should do it.
Right. And that's the problem here, ladies and gentlemen, if you hadn't picked up on what we're putting down at this point in time, is that if you just do a factory reset, that actually does not remove your Wi-Fi settings, including your password, which is what the problem is here. Right. So if some enterprising young person might find a Canon printer on the side of the road near the trash can, they could pick it up easily and go, well, it probably goes with this house right here. They take it home. They look at the Wi-Fi settings. Now, obviously, that would be a very specific attack for God knows what reasons. But think of it more on an enterprise scale. If I see Wi-Fi enabled printers, which most of them are nowadays, sitting next to a dumpster behind a commercial building, chances are good that I could probably, and if they got Canon stamped on the outside, Well, now we got ourselves a fun day at the beach here because those passwords might not be removed. And if I get my filthy little grubby little hands on them, well, you wouldn't have to be reusing those passwords anywhere else. That doesn't happen now, does it? Right? Wes, I see you smirking over there.
I'm sorry. This just goes right down to security training 101, data sanitization.
Yeah.
If you have information that you're using in a production environment and you are repurposing or decommissioning a device, you need to wipe it. Now, factory resets. Let's talk about that. Can't trust them. Why? Well, I can factory reset a Windows PC. Sure, but it doesn't overwrite all of the data that was on there before.
Yeah.
So that I will factory reset something. That's just for me. Whatever your security policy says. I factory reset, and then I turn around and I put in that old Duke Nukem. Not Duke Nukem. I swear to God, I'm not playing video games.
Yeah.
I should be working. What's it?
That doesn't happen.
D-Band, I think it is. Duke Nukem and boot and whatever the boot overwrite software. I always know it's a D-Band. It's called
aren't
D-Band.
they trying to put, or is it Doom? That they're trying to put on lamps
and that's
stuff.
and that's why that's good. But it's D-Band, right?
Yeah,
It's Derek's boot and something nuke. It's an overwriter, right? It overwrites your hard drive after a factory reset, and it does it according to whatever that military DoD standard is too on how many passes.
Funny way
it
of
takes.
pronouncing thermite.
Yeah, or Anthony's repair kit
That's a good
philosophy. Just hit it with a baseball bat, man.
Now,
No,
what?
but you bring up a great point. I was immediately thinking of the home user, but
Yeah.
I love that you take this to a corporate setting, just as you did, Daniel. These old Canon machines are behind a business. So I love what you said there that you teach in your classes, Wes, and it's so important, the proper decommissioning of devices. And you might not rely on a factory reset.
And I also think that it's a lot to do with the people that we work with around here. So my first thought would be, how do I keep it out of this guy's hands if he was able in a reconnaissance attack? And I don't mean that bad.
No.
But I need to protect against everything.
Right.
He only needs one.
Right, because we build a culture of security around the office.
Sure, exactly.
Because
so we're
we teach those
constantly
things.
talking
Right.
about it, right? You know, so my thought is, and again, you don't do things for nefarious and malicious purposes, but if I put on that hacker mindset, my thought is, how do I keep this out of somebody like Dan's hands who looks at that and says, oh, there's potentially a gold mine in here. And if it's not accessible via the user interface that you can directly interact with, he'll break it apart and plug into a Dart interface or UDart interface. UART. One of those interfaces, right? See, those interfaces that I don't know. And that's exactly my point right there.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're doing proper data sanitization. And of course, like Dan says, one of the funnest ones is if you completely melt the device. But I don't know, at the end of the day, I like the old Louisville too.
I do find it interesting as when you start thinking of attack vectors, right? How if I were targeting a certain entity, enterprise, corporate, whatever the case is, you know, what are my, okay, well, they probably got a website. I might go that route, you know, probably a social engineering attack with a fish or something like that. And maybe as an attacker, I don't think first thing out of my gate is, well, what do they got sitting in the dumpster?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can get some good stuff. Maybe I do, because dumpster diving is a very valid and useful technique, not just for hardware, but for written down passwords on like day calendars and things like that. People discard all sorts of things that they shouldn't just throw in the trash, that should have gone through a secure process of disregarding it, right? But I'm almost guaranteeing most people that are inside the building that need to discard it don't think of that. They don't think my printer is going to be the linchpin that undoes our security. They're thinking our website, our network, our Wi-Fi, you know, all those standard avenues of attack. And this kind of gets put on the back burner of the back burner where your mind goes. This is not a standard avenue of attack to someone to go after my Wi-Fi password and then, oh, crap, we're reusing that password in multiple places. And that's where the problem comes in, right? Is you chain those things together where, okay, well, if I can go grab a printer that may have a Wi-Fi password on it and I'm able to extract that, or like you said earlier, if I can crack it open and I have access to a UART that has saved information in it and I can extract that information, well, now I might be in business because I can start seeing if they are reusing that or iterations of that. I'm using tools that are going to munge that data. They're going to modify it. They're going to mutate it. So to say, okay, well, yeah, it wasn't spring 2022, but we're sitting here in spring 2023. Maybe that's what we're looking at now, right? Maybe they just do that kind of thing. That never happens. All right. Yeah, it happens all the time. So I just thought it was interesting as an attack vector that people that are defending networks need to start thinking of every possible way.
Yeah.
And hopefully they don't bypass something as simple as, we threw away a $200 printer, not thinking that was going to have a password left. And to their defense, maybe even did a factory reset and thought, we're good.
Well, see, that's the other thing. They're relying on something that you would think would remove that information.
Yeah.
But here's an aspect that we're not even talking about, decommissioning and recycling. What if I need to send that off for repair?
It's true. You got to use a trusted third party.
Still have to have a trusted third party, and if I don't have a trusted third party, that information's in that memory.
Yeah. Remember when Best Buy, the Geek Squad, was getting hammered because
absolutely
these techs were stealing people's data?
Right, using people's information in a way that they shouldn't be using it. So don't tell me it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Dan, with a security mindset, you're saying, no, it happens. It's a matter of when it happens.
Yeah.
That's
about how it goes.
So even and that's something that I liked about this article, because you say, well, you thought of it from the home users. You didn't think it from the enterprise. I didn't think of it from the repair aspect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't care if you're a home user, if you're a corporation. I send this over to a repair company. I don't think about that. Like the factory reset, I'm putting my trust in that. I'm putting my trust into that person to offer me a service, not thinking that if they wanted to, they could maybe plug into that memory and find all that information, and now they could use it.
I would bet a majority of IT personnel wouldn't factory reset when sending in for a repair.
I wouldn't think of to do that.
They probably
I wouldn't have thought to do that at all.
Yep.
And apparently it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
That's right.
You got to go through some, right? Yeah. That's like playing a weird game of Twister with settings. Okay, I got to hold this down and
wait. We've got cows.
Yeah. They got to start over. You got to start over. Yeah. Now, speaking of crazy attack vectors that you probably aren't thinking of, let's move on to our next article, which comes from the Hacker News. New deep learning attack deciphers laptop keystrokes with, you ready? 95% accuracy. Man, AI has made our lives very, very interesting lately.
I think they're slacking. It could have been 100%.
Yeah. Just give them time. Give them time. Right? They're working on it, Wes. No one's perfect out of the gate. No one bats 1,000. So it says a group of academics has devised a deep learning-based acoustic side-channel attack. Side-channel attacks, they are fun. And they can be used to classify laptop keystrokes that are recorded using a nearby phone with 95% accuracy. Quote, when trained on keystrokes recorded using the video conferencing software Zoom, an accuracy of 93% was achieved, a new best for the medium. Researchers, and it goes on to tell you who these researchers are. Actually read the paper they published. It was very interesting, very technical, getting into, waveforms and all the different things that goes on. But just the idea that I've got a phone sitting, so here's the scenario, right? It's Sicily, 1923. I call Wes and I say, hey, Wes, let's do a Zoom meeting. And then you set your phone down. I'm going to talk you through something. And I want you to open your laptop and do this and do that. And the whole time I'm recording our conversation. Well, that microphone is sensitive enough to pick up the keystrokes that happens. And those little ticky taps are picked up by my AI. My AI is then able to discern what keys Wes is tapping if I know the make and model of his laptop. Or I can discern what the make and model of his laptop are based off of doing comparative research or I'm comparing the two, what I already have to what I just pulled from Wes.
Kind of like a baseline, and what's anomalous to that baseline.
And then I look and I see, does any of these keystrokes look like any of the keystrokes I already know? Mm-hmm. If they match up, and then, I'm going to say that's a MacBook Pro version blank. And with 93% accuracy, I'm going to get it right. That's a little crazy. And like I said, talk about weird attack vectors. What do you guys, what do you think about side channel attacks?
I think this is absolutely amazing. I mean, I was like, what are we talking about? Quantum mechanics here? I don't even understand. I don't understand that. But they talk a runtime behavior, the power consumption.
Yeah.
How much power you're utilizing means your CPU must be chewing away or the GPU might be chewing away, so you must be doing something, obviously, that requires calculations. That's insane. I will tell you, one of the things that I would be first asking you on that phone call is how you got a cell phone to work in 1923.
Listen, Les, that's neither here nor there. Just start tapping your password, would you?
It reminds me of this scene in the outtakes.
Plus,
of,
we're both 100 years old.
I know. Reminds me of the scene I seen in this movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, and he left his phone on in one of the shoots, and they're in this Model T, and his phone rings, and he stays in character. He's like, "I told you never to call me on this phone. It's 1923. There ain't supposed to be cell phones yet." He goes back in character. But yeah, just reading some of this stuff. What is it? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Electromagnetic radiation.
Yep, EM.
Just what?
Dude, so from what I've studied about side channel attacks, like one of the first ones, if not the first one, was through a machine, a computer that the U.S. government was using during World War II. This researcher discovered that there was an EM spike that he could detect on an oscilloscope every time the machine did like a reset or something. And he could do it from up to like 80 feet away. He could still detect this spike. And based off of that spike, he could tell certain things were happening. And he mentioned it to the uppers, and they were like, whatever, no big deal. He was like, oh, really? So he got a team of his friends, and they like rented out like an office building across the street from where they were at on the military installation. And they were reading those, and they could decipher encrypted communications based off of what they were seeing from the EM radiation coming from the grinding and whirring of this machine. And then they went, so yeah, we were across the street, and this is what we got. And they went, oh.
Maybe we should pay attention.
That seems like a problem. So they made it a policy that all military installations had to have a 100 feet buffer from any other building that wasn't inside the gates.
Wow.
So wherever those machines had to be 100 feet of a buffer between the fence and any other building.
Sure, and this isn't sci-fi here, right?
No.
Because I definitely heard, and I think you guys have mentioned it on other Technado episodes in the past, where it was like they could start to read what somebody was looking at on their computer just based by how the monitor was radiating energy off of it.
Yeah, so it's Tempest. Tempest is the U.S. government, NSA, just started devising ways, I think it was in the 60s, to read the radiation coming off of like monitors, right? And they were able to recreate what was on the screen from a distance based off of the radiation. Of course, we can also hear the CPUs whirring and grinding and doing their things, basically flipping switches, using voltage up and voltage down. They can hear that using telephone microphones, or say telephones, your cell phone, right?
Telephone.
Those are sensitive enough to pick those up and be able to use them. Of course, EM radiation as well. But this is called acoustic emanations, because this is actually and is one of the more fringe side channel attacks. People tend to not think of it because who's going to pick up acoustic?
I'm typing.
Right. Yeah. But now you got a cell phone within proximity of just about everything, right? So if I can get that cell phone working where I can pick up like, hey, let's do a Zoom call. Now I can record what your tickety taps are doing and use that as a baseline and figure out what tickety taps are you actually doing.
Absolutely, and that's what it says. 36 MacBook Pros, they tested 25 times in a row, varying the pressure and the fingering that they were using, and they were still able to get it with 93% accuracy.
I love the mitigations, the recommended mitigations. The first one, type in a different style. So that's not really possible.
Oh, they definitely tell my wife. They would hear her typing from 2 cubic.
Yeah.
She's angry.
Like it owes her money.
What did it do to you, man?
And
Where's my money, you stupid keyboard?
And then the other mitigation that would also be tough, right? Adding randomly generated false keystrokes.
So that's an old school method. It's called masking.
Yeah.
Right? So using sounds that are similar to obfuscate the actual typing. Yeah.
Interesting.
So maybe you just like start a recording of a typing.
Well, they do this on YouTube all the time if you think about it, you've seen it happen and to overcome copyright violations.
So it doesn't get picked up by the algorithm.
They speed up a recording by 0.25%.
Yep.
It doesn't match the baseline, so it's not considered anomalous. Back to your point.
Yep.
And the algorithm doesn't pick it up. And that's why you'll find these where how can they run a full-length movie in YouTube and you're not paying anybody, it's because they got a timestamp on it.
Yep.
That timestamp now visually can be run through the algorithm because it differs from what the original movie is. The algorithm doesn't pick it up.
That's right.
So we already see that in place. It's just interesting. The light bulb just went off. I'm like, wait, we're already seeing that.
Yep.
Just maybe in a different application.
That's right. So very cool. I love side channel attacks just because they don't get a lot of love, right? But they're super cool. I've seen things like data exfiltration through air gap systems where the device was inside of a Faraday cage. Tell me how that works. Crazy. It's witchcraft is what it is. So really cool stuff, very highly technical stuff, and not stuff that we as average everyday people get to kind of play around with. But apparently it's becoming more and more available and accessible to the average security person, and therefore it's going to be accessible more to the average attacker out there. So it is something we need to kind of keep our little heads together on and make sure that we think about when it comes to, okay, I want to take a look at my attack surface. What is it? Well, don't forget about those acoustic emanations. Yeah. Right? We've learned a lot today. Security was fun. Obviously, the one thing we did learn today is that security is really hard to do because there are various and sundry different crazy ways in which those attackers out there will get a hold of stuff. That said, we are done with the Technado. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I know I sure did. Don't forget about ACI Learning, the sponsors of the Technado. Go check out ACI Learning for your training needs and learn a little bit about this stuff. We all teach these topics and different types of things in all of our training offerings for you out there. So really cool. Technado 30 will get you that 30% off. So make sure if you're going to sign up for that, use that Technado 30. It's there. It's just waiting. You just got to pick it up and use it. Doesn't cost you nothing. Good stuff. That said, we're going to call it a day. Thanks, boys, for joining us, and thank you for watching. Until next time, have a great day.